this computer. Okay, guys, thanks for people catching up on the video later on. We have 7 people in the room. Today's session is about post-race reviews, and I'm going to use my own personal experience with Cork as to go through a template on that. We'll also have a Q&A session, but again, I'll stop the recording because I just want the core content to be up as the recording. A little bit of a carrot for more people to join in. I know there's lots of people that can't make it, but the more we get there, better QAs are, the better dialogue, and the better we learn as a community. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, alrighty. So, can you guys see my screen? Okay. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So post-race reviews. Okay, these are very useful and they should be done, but there's some ways that they should be done and some key principles that you need to do, right? It's not a hindsight exercise. It's not a kind of, oh, I should have, I could have, la, la, la. The way you're going to get something out of this is if you compare it against what you thought you were going to do, or specifically a race strategy. And as you know, we've drawn out the race strategy and it gives you one of the things that you want to do and targets you want to get, because then you're comparing your actual with your expected. And then you're finding out, okay, so why did I not get the actual because, or why did I was better than my actual, as what went wrong or what went right, etc., etc. So rather than just going, oh, you know what, I definitely could have done 6:30 on the bike if I had. But if you were never thought you were going to get 6:30 on the bike, that's just kind of wishful thinking. You need to compare this against a plan, okay? Point 2, it needs to be honest, as in we can all sit here and look at things and go, oh yeah, well, things are going to go wrong and all the rest, and that's the whole point. But how much of the things that went wrong could you have prevented yourself with a little bit of extra training, a little bit of extra preparation, or a little bit of race awareness? Yes, there's certain things that are out of your control, and we'll also put them in a certain category, but don't, even if you've done better than you expected, look at it critically, because there are things you can improve. And there's no point in going, you know what, I'm great, because then don't bother doing a post-race review. What you want to go is, I did that really well, I did that really well, but there's a tweak there, there's a couple of minutes there. That makes it a useful exercise. And that means just you bring that into the next block of training, you bring that into the next race, and then you sort of actually will make a further improvement, okay? Point 3, and this is really, really important, as in it needs to have actionable outcomes. There's no point in going, you know what, I should have swam 80 minutes and leave it at that. As in, you need to kind of dig dive. If you really think, if you had planned to swim 80 minutes and you didn't swim 80 minutes, what went wrong? And then that's your root cause. And then what could you have done differently, as in what will you do next time? For example, I'm going to go through here. I was hoping to swim around 65 to 70 minutes. I was slightly off. But why was that? My goggles fogged up, I got a little bit lost, and I lost the pack a little bit, and that I definitely think that cost me 5 minutes. So in terms of that means what happened, what really contributed to it, what can I change, and then I write that down and I write that into my next race strategy. Make sure that you've tested the goggles a little bit before the race. And then again, you won't make that mistake. You'll make a different mistake, and may lose time in a different way, but we're all trying to move out as many chinks on that chain as possible. So I kind of put things into repeat or prevent. Something went well, and you went, that really worked well for me. Put it in the repeat box, all right? If something went wrong, okay, that's what we need to prevent. And there's a bit more of that. What do you do in your training to prevent that? What do you do in your equipment to prevent that? Okay. Righty-ho. So I'm going to delve into, I'm going to use me, as I said, a live guinea pig. So I'm just going to quickly make sure everyone's muted. Okay, cool. We got everyone there. Everyone. Oh, Callum, how you doing? Okay, cool. Alrighty, so we're back here. So we're going to use Cork, and there's a couple other people in Cork, and I'm going to ask them some questions as we go along. Okay. Now I had my race strategy document written down and sort of in a little book, so I can't replicate that here, but I'll put down the main headings, okay? And I'm going to go through it with you, and I'm going to grade myself from 1 to 10, 1 being brutal, 10 being superb, and I couldn't possibly do any better. And I'll put it into repeat, prevent, and how, okay? For me, the race preparation begins a long time beforehand. You can put in your training block in terms of your levels of completion, etc., but I'm going to look at this in terms of what you turn up with on the day is what's in the tank, okay? But for me, it starts off with course knowledge. My plan was, because it's Cork and it's a local race, I wanted to know that course backwards. Now, I actually did, because I cleverly ran some training camps. So I got people to pay me to go and do the course. And I knew and I actually had, it's a 2-loop 90K loop course for the full Ironman. And there's some quite interesting technical bits in it, including Windmill Hill, which is a 50-meter bit of climbing, which hits 22% gradient at time. Now, if you haven't seen it, look at the video, the YouTube clips on it. Superb moment. But I cleverly designed some training camps. I went down on a training weekend, so I knew the course inside out. In terms of the swim, that was slightly out of my control, because Ironman changed that till the very last second. So even when I was on the training camps, the prescribed swim course was different. The run course again was hard, but on the training camp, we knew it was going to be flat. We knew 70% of what it was going to be. Okay, so in terms of my grade, in terms of what I can control, I'm going to give myself, you know what? I'm going to give myself an 8 out of 10. As I said, I will definitely do pre-recce trips. I'll definitely do my training camps. And in terms of the only things that I do differently, and it's slightly outside my control, would be more of the actual just testing the swim course. So I'm going to put that in to prevent sort of swim course uncertainty. All right. So, but that's my course prep. As I said, I was quite clever with it, quite strategic. Now, in terms of can I apply this to Florida? Can I go over the next 4 weekends and try it? Of course, no. But I also know that there's a lot to be gained of either checking out a course on Ruby, and that's the Ironman app, and or Full Gas, what they're doing now, where they're actually setting it up that you can actually cycle a course. There's a huge benefit knowing where a corner is, a huge benefit to knowing what sort of the road surface even looks like. Yes, it's quite different if you're on an app and all the rest, but I will do the Ironman Florida course on Full Gas. Okay. Logistics for me at the next kind of level. There was a lot of talk about how difficult it was getting accommodation, and again, this for me was actually quite easy in terms of the first time that I had to go to an Ironman, which I didn't have to involve a plane. So in terms of actually driving down, it was super. I just literally put boxes, all my kit into the back of the car, and I put my bike in and all the rest. So it was actually that was really nice and easy. Again, not exactly was it repeatable for Florida, but it will be a little. I need to put more effort into the plane, hotel, logistics, etc. Okay, I'm going to give myself, and also we found a nice Airbnb, which was literally 5 minutes from the start. And again, a lot of people who had booked late were like 20 minutes out, or had to drive in, and it was a very early start. Like it was a 6 o'clock start for the Ironman, which is actually quite early. Normally can be 7 o'clock, but that means like if you're to get to transition, you have to be there by 4:30. You don't get an awful lot of sleep. So I'm going to give myself 7 out of 10 for that. And what would I repeat? You know, Was it knowing the location, location relative to where I was staying? Now, I suppose also for me, it's a little bit more on the location relative to the hotel, etc. Now, and I've already started this. I'm learning, making this learning based on other people who, like Americans who came to Cork, and we're staying in Cork City because it's called Ironman Cork. Yet, y'all is half an hour away from Cork City Centre. So these guys had half an hour drive in, and there was parking, la la la. But for me, for Cork, the logistics couldn't have gone much better. As you know, I'm going to give myself an 8. Yeah, there you go. But learning from someone else's, I need to know in terms of hotel, proximity, race times, etc., and all the rest. Just to make sure that you don't have that mad panic that you're getting all sorts of a hassle. And again, there's flights as well for Florida. Race day prep, and because I was so close, the whole goal there was to minimize the stress. I drew out my timetable for the morning. I knew I was up at 4:15. I knew I was going to have my breakfast by 4:30. I knew I was going to give myself half an hour just to do final checks and go to the toilet, etc. That worked really well. And again, being in a location close to a race start, it meant that I didn't have to worry about portaloos, etc., etc. So I turned up, very unstressed, focused, and all the rest. So again, just as in sort of close to race start, timetable per activity. Again, I'll repeat that. What I'm going to have to prevent or I'm going to be worried about is I had one of my friends down who was happy to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, come down and make sure I got my wetsuit on correctly and all the rest. That's a concern for me because I'm traveling solo in Florida. Solo in Florida. I need friends. Find friends. Okay. Okay. Now, what I haven't mentioned, and this is going to come kind of highlight in the bike portion, I was carrying a bit of an injury. I unfortunately picked up a tweak in my medial ligament 2 weeks out from the race. I thought I'd done everything to manage it. It was feeling okay in the week of. So I don't know what section I put that into. In terms of, I now know how to rehab it better. Specific is the first time I've had that kind of injury. But that will come up to haunt me later on. But in terms of my pre-prep, logistics, knowing where I was going to be, timing, etc., always going very, very smoothly. The swim target time was under 70 minutes, which is around 150 minute per 100, which is fine. I actually came out with 73 minutes. So I'm going to give myself a 6 out of 10 for that. Okay. And what happened? What went well? I'd practiced the swim course. I knew the swim course. I knew the tides. So I knew to get in early, and I actually put myself in an earlier corral. I put myself in the 60-minute corral. And the reason was I knew it was kind of I wanted to try catch feet. I also wanted to, I knew the tide would be coming in at that time. So the earlier it got out, the more tidal flow you would go with it. And also I wanted to get in and get going as fast as possible. I knew it was going to be a hot day. Swim course, tides, early corral. All right, so that's what I'll repeat. What went wrong for me? My goggles went a bit skewy, leaked. I also got lost a bit as well. Even though it's a very simple swim course, so I lost in a drink. But again, that was due to kind of the goggles. So what I need to do I need to test goggles 2 days out before the in my practice swim, and replace them if needs be. And also possibly mentally, also I drifted off a little bit in the swim. I just, again, I lost a bit of focus. So I need to work on my mantras in terms of lost focus for a bit. And it's very easy to do in an Ironman swim because you're going along and, you know, you're not only, I find it hard to be 100% tuned in for like a long swim for like 4K, 4.5K in the pool. Your mind wanders, but not only that you're wondering about mundane things, but you're also mind wanders in terms of, oh crap, how hard's it going to be on the bike? As in, like, you know, Windmill Hill is 22. And I go, at that point, there's 0 point worrying about these things or even just expending mental energy. You are not going to affect your bike split by wondering about it in the swim. All you're going to affect is your your swim split, because you're still going, oh, hang on, I wasn't really kind of following past my hip with my hand there. So I need to tune in a little bit. So that's fine. T1, want to be less than 5 minutes. I think it was 4 minutes. So I'm going to give myself a nice, so it's 4 minutes there. I'm going to give myself a nice 8 there. Why? What did I repeat? I'd walked the course. I'd add on my landmarks. One thing that helped me, but shouldn't have, some guy actually was having problems with my wetsuit zip. I have this hub wetsuit, which I'm gonna have to get rid of because it's an absolute piece of garbage. It has a quick release system that can jam and it can cause serious problems getting out of it. But I was lucky as I was coming up the ramp, some guy actually saw me kind of struggling and he went, look, and he pulled it down for me. In theory, that's outside assistance. I wasn't complaining at the time, but I need to kind of look at either fixing that zip or getting a new wetsuit. But that could have slowed me down in terms of the zipper issue. And the zipper issue might be a case of just putting more WD-40 on it. It might be a case of just practicing a bit more, etc. But seeing as I like to throw money in a situation, I think I'll buy myself a new wetsuit. I hear the Blue Helix is lovely. And seeing as I'm now an aqua biker, I will need to be pay more attention to my wetsuit gear. Okay, bike. It was a hot day in Cork, as in everyone will attest to, and quite energy sapping on the second lap. Sean, Dave, and Marie will ask their opinions on it as well after I've stopped rambling. I wanted to go under 6 hours. I ended up with 6:30. 6 hours 30. I'm gonna give myself a good old 5 out of 10 for that one. What would I repeat? I was very focused on my nutrition, was bang on, absolutely nailed in terms of my nutrition and hydration, even though I had to adapt because my front water bottle bounced out. I was thinking about Callum at this stage, as in I have this fancy kind of bottle holder at the front, and just when going over some of the road surface is quite rough in Cork, so with all the rattling, it actually bounced out the bottle from it, and it went just about missed my back wheel, and it could have actually wiped me out. And I was thinking, man, if I'd Callum's kind of cable ties, I wouldn't have had this situation. But even then, I knew where the aid stations were. I knew what the plan was to adapt. I wasn't freaked out I'd lost the bottle. I'd had my number of the aid stations written on the stem of the bike. I said, okay, there's one at 21, there's one at 51, there's one at 1112, etc. So I knew, and I had one bottle as well. So nutrition hydration went well. My first lap was on target. And again, my climbing was actually better than I expected. Like the 2 loops of Windmill Hill, I stayed in the saddle and I went up. And again, by the way, Windmill Hill is cool. It's like a couple of thousand people screaming and shouting at you and all the rest. And you just have to, if you're either out of the cleats and pushing the bike up, you're pushing it up hard, or you're actually climbing up. It's just energy to push it up. But in terms of the rest of the course, I was tuned in. I thought that went well. And I also was trying to target for normalized power of 70 to 170 to 180 watts. First thing I noticed when I got on the bike was my power meter wasn't synced to my bike computer. All right, so I was blind. I had no power. I also, my heart rate monitor wasn't working, and it wasn't synced because I had planned just to go by power. By the way, this is very much a do as I say, don't do as I say, don't do as I do, because I should have tested that the morning of, and I just hadn't. I think the problem was when you set up triathlon mode on the watch and you have another Garmin as a bike computer, the messages get confused, and that's why it was my power meter was feeding to my watch, but not my bike computer, which I'd set up to watch up to monitor, because I don't like going like that in the race. There is a mode where you can mirror your Garmin watch onto your bike computer, so it's in front of you. I'm going to use that next time. So I'm going to use mirror mode. In terms of I also need to fix my front hydration bottle, which I already have ordered. And what I didn't do well was I didn't monitor how well I was going or how badly I was going in the second lap, and my knee started playing up. Again, some of the climbs can be quite draining because you're just constant. So my inside of my left knee started playing up, and I knew 120k in that it wasn't going to be a running day. I thought I might be able to get away with it, but should I have raced? Well, the outcome would tell you no, but I possibly should have done a bit more prehab work on it beforehand. Anyway, so give myself 5 out of 10. I was good in hydration. I was in control of this first lap. I didn't overly. The fact I had no heart rate or I had no power, I had no way to tell how much the heat was taking out of me in the second lap, and that's where the wheels metaphorically came off. T2. This is me just going through the motions. I wanted to see if I could come off the bike. I did a nice, good postman's dismount. I got into the tent. I changed, etc. And then I tried running on the knee, and it was just too sore. So I'm going to give myself 6 out of 10 for that. I knew the oh no, where's that gone? Whoops. Yeah, knew the route. Prevent knee injury. Now, and okay, so and then the rest of I knew the run course quite well. I had targeted a sub 3:30 hour marathon, keeping my heart rate on 150. Now, most people I know suffered very badly on the run, so I don't even know whether or not that would have been anyway realistic, because the energy was that sapped. So we don't have that data. But I'd like to think, based on what other people's run times were and their efforts, etc., I possibly should have adjusted that time straight off the bat, right? Because I knew everyone knew it was going to be hot. So there you go. That's how you would do a bit of a post race review. There are some other stuff I would add in here, by the way, and I kind of overlooked it. I would also add in sort of longer OWS sets for myself. I did feel quite tired in the swim. I would also have, in my next training block, I will have longer outdoor bikes. Some of my stuff I've done on Zwift, which I'm not a fan of, but I just time, etc., would it just meant I was restricted. So these are the things. So to improve my swim in Florida, things I'm going to do differently. I'm going to make sure I get my test goggles. I'm going to have longer open water swim sets in the harbor. I just need to get more used to that, being alone in your head and also just doing loops, etc. The wetsuit I need to look at. The bike bit more time. I'm actually going to add in, I rarely do it. I actually rarely go over 180K for Ironman distance. I just think I actually need to add in 200K sets, and I think I will. And I've already ordered a front hydration bit. I need to play around a little bit of the tech. But the main thing I need to do is I need to start foam rolling more on my glutes, and I need to start using my massage gun, because that's what my physio said. Your left glute is very, very tight. It's pulling. That's what's caused the medial ligament to get strained. That's what blew up on the bike. So lots of lessons learned, and this is the way you should have it, right? This is, you can go through it, and then you should have 4 or 5 things you're gonna take away and improve for next time. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and stop the recording, and we're gonna just open it up to a bit of Q&A with the guys. But if for people who are just dialing in and all the rest, thanks very much for that. I hope that was useful. If you want, that's just a simple table I put together. You're best off creating your own table. I'm going to close it now. I'm going to have Q&A with the other guys to have a bit of a chat, but seeing as we'll just keep it as a recording. Okay.